Hello, my name is Eric Polite, and welcome to Bloom Inclusion Seminar. For our purposes, though, we're going to think about this as a laboratory, research and development. We're going to delve deeply into the work of your organization, but more importantly, the work of what it means to build an organization that is a model of diversity, equity, inclusion. I've been doing this work for nearly 20 years in nonprofits, education, and now a for-profit. Started as a diversity practitioner in higher education as a director of multicultural affairs, doing food, festivals, and fun. There was no problem there. It was good and important work, but ultimately not about sustainable change. Moved into becoming what I think of as a diversity, equity, and inclusion professional. And it's been the core of my work in schools, developing strategy, working in education and training, and building structures and systems that support diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's the kind of learning that I want to share with you, and that will grow your organizations together and thinking about these particular topics. But there are things that get in the way. So I've identified in my time doing this work 3 main obstacles to change as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The first is misdiagnosing the problem. We are not clear about what the issue is. We talk around it. We often get confused around symptoms versus root causes. And what presents itself as a symptom is not determined to be a root cause. So we want to get to the source of what the issue or challenge or problem is, and honestly name it. Because this is an important part that connects to number 2, which is we provide the wrong solution. So obviously, if you don't identify the right problem, you're probably going to have the wrong solution. And this ends up being the error that I see in a lot of organizations. They don't have a holistic solution or don't truly understand how systems work, that when you make a change in one part of the system, it requires changes in all related parts of the system. So think of this work, your organization, as an organism or human body. And if you have a problem with your heart, if you have a problem with your kidneys, you have a problem with any major organ, you're going to have issues with other parts of your body. So think about how we can heal the whole body. And we'll have a holistic approach to thinking about this work. And then finally, we misjudge the timeline. Organizations aren't clear about how long it really takes to change culture. The research suggests that it takes 5 to 7 years of committed work to shift a culture, and to show and to see tangible results of that. There'll be incremental progress, but what we're looking for is sustainable change and transformation. And that doesn't happen overnight. So that means inclusion in this work can't be the flavor of the month. It can't be the thing we do until we choose to do something else. So we'll be looking at ways to bake it into the cake, all right? Make sure that the diversity, equity, and inclusion work, the focus and intention and commitment that's required to do it is not just pretty buttercream icing, all right? We're going to bake it into the cake and think about everything that comes along with it. So the design thinking lens is going to help us do that, particularly as we look at the process of design thinking, exploring the problem, making sure we're clear about the human needs involved of the individuals in our organizations, approaching it with empathy and self-awareness. So you have to be the tool of change that you want to see in the organization that you're in. And as much as it's about developing and strengthening the organization, organizations are made up of individuals. And whatever we can say that is lacking in the organization is usually lacking in ourselves. So we'll be strengthening our muscles, developing the mindsets, skill sets, and assets required to truly do this work without an over-dependency on consultants. Now, it's somewhat sacrilegious because I work in the world of consultants, but I often see this codependent relationship develop because we're not building capacity within organizations. Now, when we think about this work and think about it holistically, there are 6 change levers for diversity and inclusion. And the literature points to them, and a lens I want you to add to whatever you believe you're coming here to work on. There are going to be other elements that are connected that I want you to be mindful of. So think about these change levers as we get closer to our time together. First, leadership. Without leadership, essentially nothing happens. So it's important to have leadership buy-in and more importantly, ownership and investment in this work. Second is measurement and evaluation. It's an important component to measure progress. We know the old adage, what gets measured gets done, and this is no less true for our work. How do we set baselines for data, have measurable results, and be able to communicate the benefits of diversity and inclusion beyond anecdotes? People felt really nice. We had a good time. Kumbaya. In my experience, that doesn't sell in the boardroom or many other places. So how do we connect these to key performance indicators and other metrics that let us know we're on the right path? And if we're not on the right path, we can quickly make adjustments. Third is communication. We have to always be talking and messaging and marketing what this commitment means and how it affects and connects to the business. Fourth is education and training. Now, I said there's 6. This is the one where most organizations invest most of their energy, education and training, as if training is a silver bullet. It is part, again, of a holistic approach to changing your organization to support and leverage diversity, equity, and inclusion. So education and training is an important piece, but not the only piece. Next is systems alignment. Again, I mentioned earlier that a change in one system requires change in other parts of that system. So how do you align your systems to support the work around diversity, equity, and inclusion, even if your interest and need is in only one part of that system? How are you collaborating with other team members and parts of your organization? How are you communicating what your needs are and how those needs connect to the needs of the businesses, as well as business challenges? And finally, diagnostic and discovery work. We have to know, again, what the issue, problem, challenges, or gap is. So we start with some discovery work. Sometimes that is as simple as talking to people. Qualitative assessment, focus groups, interviews, conversations that give us some insight into the landscape. Is our culture toxic? Who are our minus canaries that give us some sense of whether we have a toxic culture or one that is really responsive to and ready for the changes that we're trying to implement and build additional buy-in and ownership. So in preparation for our time together, I want you to think about what's required for you and your organization to become models of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in order to do that, I'd like you to think through a prompt. So in order to be a model of inclusion, what do we need to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing? Start means what do we need to do more of, do or do more of. Stop means what do we need to stop doing or do less of, and continue means what are we doing already that we just need to continue doing. It's working, it's on the path to where we need to go, and it's viable. So do that for the organization, but I think as important is to think about those same prompts for yourself. In order for the organization to realize this future that we're going to talk about, what do I need to start, stop, and continue? What do I need to start doing or do more of as a leader in this work? What do I need to stop doing that is proving to be a barrier or an obstacle to the progress for my team and or the organization? And what do I continue doing? What am I doing that is in line with inclusive leadership capabilities and driving the organization that is that I just need to acknowledge and affirm and appreciate? So think about those two pieces, one for your org and also for yourself as we prepare for our time together.